Mafia, are you ready?
He said, are you ready?
This is Brotherly Love Wrestling Podcast, your first stop for everything professional wrestling. So sit back and enjoy wrestling talk at its finest with your hosts, Larry Hall and Joe Corrado.
Welcome, everybody, to Brotherly Love Wrestling. And on our show today, we have the savage gentleman himself. Victor Benjamin joins the show. Victor,
he's a champion.
Welcome to the show.
He's a champion of something that I won.
Oh, and
that
very...
Butterfinger championship.
Oh, man.
You know what? I was eating Butterfinger the other day, and it gets a lot of hate for how chewy it is and how it gets stuck in between your teeth. But I will say that Butterfinger is the only candy that lets you savor it throughout the day. It doesn't end.
And if you have a beard like mine, you know, when it crumbles and breaks down, you have little left over for the end of the day.
That goes for any food. When you have a flavor saver, you can pretty much pick anything out of it. Sometimes it doesn't work in your advantage if you don't like what you're eating, but sometimes it is the flavor saver.
Very cool.
So, Victor, welcome to our show. Upcoming, you have a event against the Goods, Josh Woods at WrestlePit, and a Ring of Honor Pure Rules match. Is this your first Pure Rules match?
This is. I've done Bloodsport in the past, but this is a little different. You know, Bloodsport has no ropes, and this is performed in a regular ring. It's more technical, but I don't foresee it being any issue considering, you know, the decade of mixed martial arts experience that I have.
Now, the only thing that is tricky, I feel, in the Pure Rules matchup is the rope breaks. Because especially both of you are very equally matched up. Let's face it. Yeah. You both specialize in a striking ground, mixed martial arts type style of wrestling. So if submission holds are going back and forth and the only way to get out is to use the ropes, I feel like that's the trickiest part of the rules. Like you gotta know how many you have.
Right. And that's a huge factor in this. So Josh and I, we're no strangers to each other. We've been friends for a while. We've been wanting to have this match, and it couldn't have come at any better timing than right now for WrestlePit because he's the Ring of Honor Pure Champion. That in itself, the prestige and the lineage of everyone that has held that title, you know, so for him to beat Gresham for that championship, you know, like that's a very, very high accolade. But am I worried? No, like you mentioned, we're very similar. I think it's going to be a very cerebral chess game.
Yeah, we've seen Josh in the ring with people of his caliber, the people that don't really have that mixed martial arts background and whatnot. And he kind of picks them apart when it comes to that. I mean, everyone except for maybe Gresham. Like Gresham's arguably the best technical wrestler. He's just so in-ring smart that it makes everyone else look kind of silly. But I mean, anybody that doesn't really have that background, he's able to kind of capitalize and he's able to use. I mean, he's a big dude as well. He probably has you by a couple pounds at this point.
A little bit, not by much, though.
Not by much?
Yeah, so, not by much.
All right, well, I stand corrected. I haven't seen you two next to each other. I know you're shredded and I know you're jacked, but I felt like he's got a little bit of thickness to him.
He's a little thicker, but I'm dense.
That's what I call myself. That's funny. If you throw me in water, I'm not floating. So after this match, is this for the Pure?
It is for the championship.
This is for the championship. Now, Ring of Honor is coming back after Supercard of Honor, and they're going to be running shows again. Now, is that a place that you like feel comfortable with, that you would like to venture off to?
Absolutely. My wife and I actually spent a few years down there at the Ring of Honor dojo a few years back. So it's always been somewhere that I wanted to go because of the technical aspect. You know, my previous background, and you had guys like Gresham, like Woods, Rhett, and all the other guys that are just so insanely talented, but at the same time, technical proficiency is one of the things I excel in. And I'm really going to showcase that this match against Woods, because in a true pro wrestling match, rope breaks don't matter. You know, you can go hold for hold, but you can also use the top rope. You can also use anything that you have available to you. And this is a handicap for most people, but I don't think it's going to be a handicap for me.
All right. So if you were to put your striking against Josh's, who's got the upper hand there? Because there's no closed fist. I mean, it's all going to be a unique striking style.
Absolutely. And I would absolutely 100% give myself that edge. Now, as far as the technical wrestling aspect, Woods got that. You know, that's his specialty. You know, he was in college. He was a collegiate, you know, high-level collegiate wrestler, you know, champion. But I also have that background. Just as Woods, you know, has a pretty proficient striking background as well. But that's the matchup that we got. We got grappler versus striker. It's the age-old tale, you know, that has been told since the very first UFC. And I think we're going to put on a show.
Now, it's not often enough, in my opinion, personally, that you get evenly like put together matchups. Like usually it's a David versus Goliath or two completely different styles that go against each other, depending on what you're watching. But when ROH like went back to the pure rules, I like found myself glued to that show because of that style. That's the style that keeps me interested when I'm watching wrestling nowadays, because I feel like I've seen everything else. Like growing up in the late 80s, early 90s and watching all that, you had very few technicians. I mean, everything kind of changed to be a larger than life personality. And I really miss that. Now that I'm older, not old, but older, I feel like I'm more drawn to that because it feels more, it has that UFC feel. It has like that. It's all about storytelling and in ring and during the matchup storytelling. And
you can appreciate it now. You know, when you're a kid, when you're younger, you want to see the flashy stuff. You want to see the razzle dazzle. You want to see that monster come out that's 7 foot tall, because it is larger than life. And it's even larger when you're a small child.
Yeah.
But now that you can appreciate the technical aspect, and with the emergence and the growth that professional mixed martial arts has had over the last 2 decades, everyone's very familiar with that style. So to go back and bring that into the future again, it's just like anything else in the world. What was once old is now new again.
Yeah, I mean, I always had an appreciation for Bret Hart. Like, I loved the way he, like, even as a young kid or a young teenager, like, I always found myself drawn to him. I mean, the guitar riff in the entrance, that was always cool. But in the ring, he always felt like he, maybe minus a few others, like Michaels was great in the ring, but he always felt like he was like he was holding the whole thing together. Like he always felt like without knowing what a ring general was back then, like you could kind of feel that, like, with him.
Absolutely. Bret Hart is by far one of the best still to have ever laced up boots.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. Now, there's another kind of I would say a friend of the show who also adapts that style and who's also a pro mixed martial artist, and that would be Matt Makowsky. Now, has there ever been? I know there's been at least one matchup for yourself. That wasn't at Bloodsport, was it?
That was at Beyond.
That was at Beyond Wrestling. Now, that is another interesting matchup. I feel like he's got more of a unique, like, he's got very good in submission, but he's definitely a uniqueness to his mixed martial arts wrestling mashup. Now, is there anything that you do or that you practice that you kind of mash together the styles? Like, how do you make them all one?
So it's not necessarily more about making them all one as to going out and being what's natural to yourself. Being my true self in a wrestling ring goes back to when I was an amateur wrestler in high school. Whenever I was an amateur mixed martial arts fighter in a cage for 3-minute rounds, and then as a professional mixed martial artist in a cage for 5-minute rounds, and as a professional boxer in a ring for multiple rounds where you are just going. You have to persevere. In a wrestling ring, it's different. It allows me to be more cerebral, more calculated, opposed to just purely relying on instinct alone.
And a time crunch, because you want to win and you want to win in a certain amount of time. Actually, that benefits you because you're able to speed up the pace and have an urgency about the match when someone else might be taking it slow. Like you have that sense of urgency where you have to finish this in a certain amount of time. Now, was that a hard mentality to kind of not so much break, but adapt?
At first, yes, because in mixed martial arts, the faster you win, the faster you get paid. Not that it's any different in professional wrestling, but you want to take the least amount of damage that you can to get back in that cage as soon as you can. The sooner you get back in the cage, the more money you make. And as a prize fighter, I'm very familiar with that. But in a wrestling match, it's not always about haste. You want to make very smart decisions, and you're not just matched up with someone that does the same exact thing that you do. There might be a high flyer. There might be a power guy. It might be the striker. It could be the grappler. There are so many different styles, and that's why wrestling usually goes a lot longer in matches, because there's a feeling out process. You have to see who you're up against. You have to feel them out, see where your strengths and your weaknesses lie, because nobody's perfect. But if you can capitalize on your strengths opposed to theirs, that's whenever you come out victorious.
All right, so I know this might be a hard or question to answer, but what style do you feel is the trickiest to go against, to match up against?
For me personally, or in general?
For you personally. Well, you can give me both if you want.
Technical wrestling is probably the hardest to go against in professional wrestling. It's only because it is such a high level, and only a few people can perform to that high level. Now, sure, your collar elbow tie up, your wrist lock, your hammer lock, your head lock, simple knee bars, things of that nature, everyone knows, everyone's fluid in. But once you start going hold for hold and you have to know the counter to the counter, that's when things get very complicated. That's what you were talking about earlier, what draws you into the Ring of Honor Pure match. It's not necessarily this versus that, but it's being so good at the same thing at the same time that it's a battle of wills.
Well, so speaking of the Battle of Wills, last week on NWA, we saw you face off against Matt Cardona, who he's been taking over everywhere. He's been everywhere. I mean, to the low, like 10, 12 people that's in attendance events, to being on NWA, being in AEW. He's going all over. This match you had with
sold
him,
out Hammerstein.
Sold out Hammerstein as well. This match you had with him, how was it getting in the ring with a guy who's right now at the top of his game?
There's a large pedigree as well.
And yes, and the background and everything that comes along with a Matt Cardona.
I was honestly for a very long time waiting for an opportunity, not necessarily against Cardona, but someone of his stature in the professional wrestling business, to prove to every single person that I do belong in that caliber. I need to be in those conversations, and being able to wrestle Matt Cardona while he's at his peak, it couldn't have been scripted any better. it just so happened to work out at perfect timing. He was the NWA champion, the GCW champion, the Impact Digital Media champion. He has AIW championships. He's the internet champion. But you know what he's not? The Butterfinger champion.
You're the only one to hold that title, aren't you?
I'm the only one, and it's the only title of its kind.
It's one of one.
It's one of one.
So that's something he would eat up because it's like a toy. It's like that. It's. I said I like that. I like it. I like what you did there. So he's like the big figurehead, and he collects all the figures. You have the rarest of rare in collector's items.
Correct.
Did he try and steal it from you?
No, Danhausen did though.
That bastard.
Damn that Danhausen. He tried to hand it to Lance Archer.
Well, that would have been a hard get back. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I stole it back. You got to go watch that. I stole it back, and then I beat Lance Archer for the championship.
Interesting. Now, was this on a show or was this on YouTube? It's just on like a YouTube clip.
Danhausen, his vlog, I believe, that I had no idea that I was even making a cameo on because I was getting ready for a match and my championship disappeared. I went looking for it, and it was in a locker room, and those two were fighting over it. So that's on YouTube. Some vlog, I think that's his channel. What the thing that he does normally, and he talks about everyone and he steals people's things. He's a klepto. But regardless, you can see the match on YouTube from Pele Pro.
Okay.
And that was me versus Lance.
So use first Lance. Now that's someone that is of that caliber who's traveled the world, who's been in every major promotion and done really, really well in a lot of different major promotions, but a little different than Matt Cardona in stature and in complete moveset alone.
Absolutely.
Now, against the bigger opponent, what's the game plan?
Oh, you got to take his legs out. I'm a striker. I just started kicking at his legs.
So you got to chop down the tree. That's the chop down. Yep. Now, does that always work for you? Who's the biggest legs that you've had to chop?
Him and Cody Hall, Scott Hall's son.
Yeah, genetics got him.
Yeah, those are both some very large legs that I had to chop down. I just wrestled Cody, I think about 3-4 weeks ago, and the Lance Archer match was about 3 or 4 months ago. But both of them, I believe, are a legitimate 6'10", and that's a giant tree in a wrestling ring.
Yeah. You don't see too many people that are like 6'10", not just walking around in public.
I've wrestled so many guys that are that size, actually. But those are the two probably like the biggest names.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because, I mean, as much as you hear about, oh, now it's a bunch of indie midgets or whatever the hell Vince wanted to call them, vanilla midgets, like there are an extreme amount of big talent out there.
Right.
They're just not that juiced out of their mind big person anymore. There's still some very large people out there.
Oh, there's a lot of large people. I don't know how tall you guys are, but
not tall.
In the general popular consensus, like 6'2" is kind of a large human nowadays. 6'5", especially, and just to be paired up with someone that's 6'10", who's almost a foot taller than me, that's a huge disparity.
Yeah, you're right. You really don't get to see that a lot either. Like the big 6'10". I mean, Billy Gunn, surprisingly, is a very large person. You wouldn't think that.
That's the very first time I met him, actually.
Yeah, because you see him next to everybody else. He's huge, and he's huge both ways, wide and tall.
And he's in the best shape. He's probably one of the guys in the best shape on the entire AEW roster right now.
I say
and he's almost 60.
He's almost 60?
He's 57 years old.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
I ain't definitely looking like that when I'm over 60. I ain't got a shot in hell.
Those are goals for me right there.
Yeah, I think that's goals for all of humanity to look like that when you're 60.
Right.
So I want to bump off topic, and we've talked about Butterfinger. So you are co-founder, president, CEO of the Peanut Butter Platoon. What is your actual title for the Peanut Butter Platoon? Do you have one created?
I do. I have 2 of them, and they were both given to me by the platoon themselves. One is the Peanut Butter Emperor,
Okay.
which started during the feud between Lance and I, because it was about who is the superior peanut butter athlete.
Interesting.
And if you go back, there's a whole vignette about it. Him and I going back and forth, fighting over peanut butter. And clearly, I still have the title, so I'm the number one peanut butter guy. Lance, if you're watching, get over it. But also, I'm the peanut butter platoon general.
All right. I knew you had to have like a good military standing.
Military ranking system, of course. I have sergeants. I actually just tried to recruit Sergeant Slaughter yesterday.
Does he like peanut butter like that?
Well, he was commenting on it stuff, so I was like, why not? I'm gonna shoot my shot. Like, I want a real sergeant in the Army.
Look, it makes sense.
I mean,
how can you not?
It really just lends itself right to it. The Sergeant Peanut Butter Sergeant Slaughter, PB Sergeant Slaughter, PBSS. So I had a bunch of questions I wanted to ask, because I love peanut butter as well. Not nearly as much as you, because I don't venture out of the because you have like all different styles of peanut butter. I'm pretty much just a regular old peanut butter, chunky peanut butter. I don't venture out like that. But I do have some
your horizons.
I do.
Your taste buds will thank you.
I agree with you. But I wanted to know, what's your go-to for what you're putting peanut butter on? Like, what's the thing that you'll always put peanut butter on?
Eggs.
Eggs is number one, go-to.
Pan-fried eggs.
I've had that before. It's not bad. It's actually really good. It's good with the. It's good. It's the savory and sweet type deal.
Correct. I'm gonna give you one a little bit further, because you do like it. Mix your eggs, put the cinnamon, put in vanilla like you're making French toast.
Oh my god!
Pan fry the eggs without the bread, peanut butter on top, little drizzle of syrup. Thank me later.
How are you in the shape that you're in? Telling me this?
But
Come on, man.
Yeah,
come on, man. Yeah, what you just told me is like, that's got to be a cheat meal.
No, that's almost an everyday breakfast occurrance for me.
How many calories you burn a day?
Today?
No, I didn't see what you ate. What do you eat? Give me the.
Oh, is that the manwich?
Yes.
What? First of all, that freaked me out. Like, I agree with Joe on this one. I love peanut butter and jelly, and that's about it. Like, I love.
Guys,
I mean,
2022.
I can't put manwich and peanut butter together. Just
My go-to has always been fried peanut butter and banana sandwiches. I'm like Elvis. That was like that's been my go-to forever.
It's a tried and true classic. How can you go wrong?
It really is, and I've eaten that since at least better than 15 years.
There you go.
I do love peanut butter, but I want to know, what's the weirdest thing that you think that you've put peanut butter on? Is it the manwich?
No.
All right.
That's weird. So the manwich had an egg underneath the manwich and then peanut butter underneath that.
So what's with the egg? Is egg and peanut butter just, it's got to be with everything?
Not necessarily, but it's just a nice little boost of protein.
Yeah. So that's where the physique comes from, the egg.
See, and it's low calorie as well.
Yes.
So, but
you got good cholesterol though?
It's good cholesterol.
You got good cholesterol? All right.
As long as you're not eating dozens a day, the cholesterol isn't anything to be worried about.
All right. I eat 3 a day.
No, you're plenty fine. You should probably eat more, and you should probably put peanut butter on everything.
What about a hard boiled? What about a hard boiled and peanut butter?
Absolutely. Have you never seen the hard boiled peanut butter and jelly eggs?
No.
It's like a deviled egg, but you put peanut butter and jelly in.
Where do you find this? Have you created this? Do you have a cookbook, or how do you know all this? This is very interesting to me. I love food.
Once again, it's 2022. This thing is called the internet.
What the hell's the internet? Is that dial-up service that we have?
No. You have to have one of those special discs And you have to tell your mom to get off the phone first before you can use that one.
Damn it. That's always the problem. I get in the background.
So the weirdest thing.
Yes.
Now, I'm going to give you backstory before I tell you this, because you're immediately going to be like, no, absolutely not. And I did it first too. But me being the general, what would I be if I didn't lead the charge? So
That's true.
During the pandemic, a lot of people were out of jobs. Very similar to the recession in the 1920s.
Mm-hmm.
Peanut butter is a very calorie-dense food and provides protein, provides you good healthy fats, and keeps you fuller longer.
Mm-hmm.
So there were a lot of concoctions created in the early 1900s with peanut butter. I'm not saying they are all good. I'm not saying all of them should have ever been created. However, there was, because people were poor, predominantly, you had condiments, but you had no meats. So people would make peanut butter sandwiches mixed with random various other household items. And one was a peanut butter and mayonnaise sandwich.
You got
Now,
two different types of fatty, but you got your egg in there.
Right, you got your egg, but it's very, very high calorie. You got good fats that's what your body needs to run on for energy. So if you're poor, you can't afford food, boom, there you go. So I understood it, and people were tagging me in these things left and right on Twitter. And this is before the peanut butter platoon was even created. It just started. It was a figment of my imagination, but people loved to hate it. And I knew I was onto something then.
So did you pan sear it, or was this just bread, mayonnaise, and peanut butter?
I went in like the savage that I am.
Okay.
2 spoons, a dip of each,
Oh no.
same time. And to be honest, it was not bad.
Interesting.
The combination tasted like a Greek yogurt because it had that little bit of sourness from the mayo,
Mm-hmm.
but then it had the savory as if you would put like a granola on top of the yogurt. So
It's a very good
oddly
description.
enough, it worked.
So have you ever tried that combination again with anything else?
I have not. I've never really had the reason to, because it is a lot of calories, and I don't eat mayo very often.
Yeah.
It's not the best thing for you, but
Yeah.
I eat peanut butter every day, so I put it on my eggs.
All right. So the final one is, what's the white whale? What is the food that you haven't put peanut butter on yet that you're dying to try?
So going back to our earlier conversation about Josh Woods, he is coming to town, and him and I both were on a taping of AEW Dark back in December. And there's a restaurant down there that has a brisket peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
That you didn't get.
I did not get this yet. I have my own personal burger with peanut butter and jelly on it. You can find it at Sam's Club or Sam's Pizza and Subs down in Baltimore, Maryland.
Really?
It's incredible. Incredible.
And it's named after you.
It's called the Savage Burger. It's named specifically after me.
That's not that far of a drive.
No, and I promise you, not only is the burger good, but they have some of the best cheesesteaks. And
Whoa. Really?
You piqued our interest.
see, yes, I knew I would get you guys with that one because I did a brief stint in Philadelphia as well. And me and my wife, we hopped around and we tried all the locals, but
You got to go deep to get the best ones.
where's that?
You got to go deep. You got to go in like the little niche areas, not like the tourist.
Yes, no. What's the one by the big giant park? It's right across the street from like a BP.
Well, are you talking about D'Alessandro's?
Yes,
Okay.
that was the best one I had personally in Philly.
That's a popular opinion. D'Alessandro's is up there.
And I'm pretty sure isn't Chubby's? right across the street from it.
Oh, I didn't even know that was an option when I was there.
Yeah, there's a bunch that are really good. There's what Ooey is it Ooey Gooey's or Gooey Louie's?
Gooey Louie.
Gooey Louie. That one's pretty good. There's a lot. I mean, but you're not in Philly anymore. Where is home now?
Home is now Pittsburgh.
Home is now Pittsburgh. Is that originally home?
Originally home. We moved to Baltimore for Ring of Honor. Then we moved to Philadelphia for Chikara. And then the pandemic struck. And we knew we had to get back home, to get our bearings back about us. And here we are. And wrestling couldn't be better.
So out of those three, all East Coast areas, I mean, you have Maryland, Philly, and Pittsburgh. How is it the wrestling town differ from each of those?
Just like anywhere else you go, and the food selection, everything's different. You have your 5 to 10 local favorites. You have your 5 to 10 guys that were on TV or on the cusp of making TV. So everyone is already intertwined into some sort of circle whenever you're down there. When you're in Philadelphia, you have a lot of history, especially with the ECW arena being down there. And then Baltimore, you had Ring of Honor, which was their base for a long time. So just those two cities alone, because of those two companies, ECW and ROH, two of the top of all time. And then you have Pittsburgh, and that's kind of where WrestlePit comes in. You have IWC with their lineage in the Super Indie Championship. But right now, WrestlePit's doing something unlike anyone else is doing in the Pittsburgh area, and for most part, all of indie wrestling.
So what is the difference in the WrestlePit?
WrestlePit is an all-encompassing style. They have guys like me who are doing the pure rules. They have the high flyers. They have lucha. They have intergender. They do trios, tag teams. They do anything and everything that you could imagine. But what they're trying to do it is on a higher, more prestigious scale. Like the first event was in a gym, but it wasn't portrayed as just being, hey, this is a ring in a gym. They had the VIP set up. They had waitresses walking around. It's a higher end product. And when you do that, the fans are more inclined to come, other than to just sit in their seats and sit on their hands. Give them something to do. And it's refreshing, especially coming from my days as mixed martial artist. Whenever you had that, you had your guys, you had some high rollers that would come in, spend a couple $100 on a VIP table. They'd get their drink service. They had a good time. It changes the appeal while you're there. It's different. It's one of those ones that you kind of have to be there to feel that energy.
All the way out in Pittsburgh, huh?
In Pittsburgh this Saturday. You guys free?
Free? No,
probably not.
Unfortunately. Now, is this something
you can stream it? So
on Fight TV?
Yes.
On Fight TV and Title Match Network.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Well, 2 streaming sites is better than 1, I always say.
Absolutely. You never know what's going to happen, so why not have a backup?
Yeah. I mean, Fight's usually tried and true, pretty good.
Oh, they have every top-notch event, of every era, going on right now. They just had, what was the bare knuckle fights were on this past weekend.
Yeah, I saw clips of that. That was pretty brutal. What was that?
That was very
that
brutal.
one girl got busted.
Oh, she had 5, 6 slices in her face.
Yeah, she was all sorts of jacked up. Now, is that something you'd ever be interested in?
I had a lot of friends here in Pittsburgh because they know me from the local MMA scene, and they were trying to get me to go into it. But truth be told, as much as I did fighting, I don't like to be hit.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone there's a few sick individuals out there in fighting that actually enjoy being punched in the face. I'm not one of those guys. I like to get in, get out, get paid, and then get on to the next one, like I mentioned earlier.
You see a clip of the Spanish dude, the boxer, not to get off topic, who was just eating punches to the face and just nothing.
Yeah.
Literally, like just eating them.
And I've seen the outcome of that 20 years later,
Oh,
where guys can't speak anymore.
That's got to be the only thing that happens. Like, you can't come back from that.
Right. You're punch drunk. And I like my brains the way they are.
Yeah.
And even the couple years removed from mixed martial arts, I find myself oftentimes even like looking for words. Not that I feel any, there's no slurring, there's no anything, but definitely did a number, 10 years of being punched in the head consistently day in and day out. That'll do a thing or two to you.
Yeah. Now, how long have you been out of MMA for?
It's been 6 years. Actually, February 26th for WrestlePit will be 6 years or 1 day shy of 6 years from my professional wrestling debut.
Wow.
So you went right from the octagon or the cage to the wrestling ring?
Almost. So I went from the octagon to the boxing ring.
Okay.
I made my professional boxing debut.
So you went from getting kicked in the head to getting punched in the head.
See, now you get it.
Yeah.
And now I get suplexed on my head.
Yeah. So really, I mean, it's the evolution of fighting. You're living through it. You're living proof.
Right. I'm a combat athlete through and through.
Now, does it start to wear on you after all that?
I mean, you definitely have your aches and pains, your daily stuff that you wake up with. I had neck surgery. A lot of people don't actually know that. 2 years ago, I had in my entire neck, all 5 vertebrae were shifted to the left. They weren't bulged or herniated. And thankfully, I was in Pittsburgh. I linked up with Kurt Angle's doctor.
Oh, wow.
Fixed me up good as new.
Wow. What was the recuperation on that?
The next day, I was pretty much back in full swing. It was it was crazy, incredible.
What?
It's a procedure that only this doctor does. And I was able to drive. I was able to do things. I was sore, don't get me wrong, but I couldn't work out for 3 months. I couldn't wrestle for 6 months. Like no crazy traumas.
Yeah.
I couldn't lift anything for like the first week. I wasn't allowed to lift anything over 5 pounds just so I didn't strain. But for the most part, it was an in and out couple hour procedure. My wife was there, drove me home. I pretty much slept all of that day because I was still under the anesthesia.
Yeah.
But after that, I felt like a new man. I wrestled like that for a year.
Wow. I feel like 6 months is a really fast time for a neck.
Yes, and I exceeded those expectations too. It made a surprise return to the now defunct Primetime Pro.
Why does that sound so familiar? Why do I feel like there's a lot of places that were defunct?
That happens whenever the pandemic strikes and people can't keep making money and keep making a product.
Yeah.
So that has something to do with it.
Yeah, it's got to be. It's shocking, though, that so many went defunct and then so many more have popped up.
Right. That's why, I'm ecstatic that WrestlePit's here in Pittsburgh.
Now, was that the plan to stay in Pittsburgh, or are you planning on traveling? Because you did do the appearance on Dark. Now, is that something that you're looking to seek out also?
Oh, absolutely. Like the plan is to never to stay home. You don't want to be the guy. You don't want to be the big fish in a small pond. You want to be the big fish in a big pond, and that's the world. That's globally, or at least nationally at this moment. So I have some bookings coming up already set. I'll be in Texas. I'll be out in Minneapolis. I'll be in Kentucky, up in Massachusetts, Jersey. Where else?
We're at
Ohio,
Jersey.
North Carolina. It's not out there yet. You'll see it soon. It'll be announced very soon.
All right.
And I promise you'll want to be there for that one.
Okay. Good tease.
All right. I'm interested.
Yes.
Although I hate driving to Jersey, but I could make an exception.
Just go over the bridge. You're good.
I know there's only 5 of them I can go over. Fucking every way in the Jersey. I'm there every day anyway.
So Victor, we want to thank you so much for taking the time, coming on with us, talking about WrestlePit. We can't wait to see this event. And obviously,
I feel like this could go on for like another 2 hours, though. We've always scraped the surface of food.
Yes, we're definitely going to have you on again for sure.
Yes.
Whenever you're freed up again, I'm getting to the bottom of this whole peanut butter thing, and I'm coming back with my own peanut butter stories.
So I'm going to give you two.
Okay.
They're ones that I promote all the time, but it's Falcon Nuts, FOKKEN, and Fit Butters. They're two entirely different products, but they're both incredible.
Interesting. Now, do they do all different flavors and stuff too?
Oh, flavors and toppings and styles. Like they do cashew butter, they do almond butter.
And these are all healthy-esque?
Yep. Even especially Fit Butters, it has protein inside the peanut butter.
So they use what, whey or an isolate of some sort?
Whey isolate, yeah.
Interesting.
Yep.
I'm going to venture off. We're coming back, and we're coming back peanut buttered up. Hopefully you have a new championship on your shoulder.
Absolutely.
Whenever you do come back.
Title's going to look real good right here.
Yeah, I think so too. I think you guys could do like a series. We can mix in a couple others.
Yeah. We'll have to see what the future holds.
I like it. Now, if only we can just get one place for all the technical wrestlers, put them all in one spot, and air it on my TV weekly.
Is that something? I think Gresham's doing that right now.
Yeah, with
Terminus.
Terminus, yes.
Yes.
But it's not on my TV yet, and it's not ran enough. But I know he's working on it.
Yeah, he's doing a great job with that down there.
Now, is that something you're trying to get your foot in the door at too?
Absolutely.
That's down in Atlanta, right?
Yes. So that, as well as Bloodsport, those are two of the top, for that style.
Well, Bloodsport's coming up in a couple weeks, right? Or in a month and a week?
Yeah. Yep.
Are you on Bloodsport, or has that not been announced yet?
That has not been discussed yet. Last I spoke with Josh, I was on the radar. So
Okay.
we'll see we'll see what the future holds.
All right. I do love that Bloodsport too. That's always completely nuts.
Yes.
I feel like it's gotten bigger every year too.
Yeah. Every single event continues to grow.
Yeah. And there's more and more people that want to be involved in it, which is cool.
Yeah. It's a style unlike any other. It's not pro wrestling, but it's also not pro wrestling.
Yes, the double entendre.
Yes.
Well, Victor, again, we want to thank you for coming on and joining us. Long overdue. Much appreciated.
Yeah,
Good luck on Saturday in Pittsburgh.
Yes.
At WrestlePit.
Right. Have a good one.